All right, sorry about that. Sorry about that. I scheduled this for 2 o'clock. And around 12 o'clock, I fell asleep and I just did not wake up. But here I am. Now, you see the title of the stream. And no, I'm not saying this. This is not a conspiracy theory. Okay? Let me say that right away. I'm not about to get up here and argue that there are mosquitoes or bugs that are attracted to melanin, or I think it's called melanin, right? Melanin. Somebody look that up. I might look it up before the stream is over. But they say, not me, they say that black people have a different type of molecule, melanin packets or something like that, that are different from people like the Indians, like the real dark Indians. They say it's not the exact same coloration. What I am saying is that it's reasonable. And I don't want to hear nothing from nobody. It's reasonable for black Americans to suspect it. I don't want to hear nothing. And if it's reasonable for us to suspect it based on the history of this country, then we have a problem. Does that make sense? That's all the more reason why we have the political views that we have. Now, some black Americans support just reparations in the form of payments. Others say we should have our own state. I'm one of the people who believe we should have our own state. Look, there are just too many differences, in my opinion, between black Americans and other people. That's why everybody else finds it very easy to be an enemy to black America. They'll pucker up to white America and everybody else America, but be dead set against black America. Let's just face facts. Black Americans have more enemies than any other single ethnic group on this planet, with the exception of a one group that you all are aware of, that I won't even say. I won't verbally say it. But there are a lot of opponents of that group as well. But if I'm lying, name it. Name the ethnic group that has as many opponents. I understand a lot of people think black Americans are hip, are cool, are fun. They lay up with black men. I'm not talking about those people. Because with all groups have their good side and their bad side. But when you try to mesh two groups where both of them have a good side and a bad side, the meshing sometimes creates more of a bad side than a good side for the entire group as a whole. And this country has always been very reckless with how it orchestrates its structure. Very reckless. With as many, not only opponents, but looking at how different in general black Americans are from other groups, it warrants, in my opinion, their own territory. An area they can call their own. Black America. Call it that. You got America and you got black America. Because see, there needs to be a setup like that. Because if you still want immigrants to come into your country, fine. They will immigrate to white America. Black America, I feel, needs to have a portion of this country where we don't have to deal with stuff like that. Because for the most part, most immigrants are not trying to live around black America unless, look, I know there's some of them who set up shop in black America. They can easily set up shop in white America, and some of them do. Not all the Korean restaurants are in black America. Some of them are in the white parts of town. And those who set up shop in black communities who are not black, who are, say, Asian or Arab, they usually don't live in black communities. They might set up their business in the black community. They don't live there, and they don't want to live there. So immigrants, most of them, they come to America to live around white people, not around us. So they're not going to want to immigrate to black America anyways. You feel me? Because black Americans are one of those groups that needs to be left alone. I don't know why nobody else sees this. This is just the way I see it. I can't see it no other way. They need to be by themselves, unbothered by others, because black Americans' culture is so different. When most immigrants come over here, they try to identify with white America. They make a clear distinction to stay away from black Americans. Now, as many of us know, many of them literally get that lecture before they come over here. Their parents tell them, stay away from black Americans. Okay, so that sounds to me like a group of people who should have their own territory. That's just how I see it. I'm not saying that, hey, this is what we should fight for or whatever. I'm putting out there what I believe and nothing more. And I do believe it's the right way to go. But I don't have no political power. Take it as it is. Now, about the title. I don't want to live in a country where I'm suspicious of my government creating bugs that are attracted to this sweet smell of melanin. Now let's get something clear with black people. And don't start with this talk about how we're all the same. Oh, no, there's no difference in color of the skin. It doesn't make a difference. We're all the same. Shut up. I don't want to hear none of that nonsense. The fact is, black people have a different smell. Boy, if y'all think I have real talk on my other channels, I'm having even realer talk on this channel. I don't want to hear no nonsense. Black people tend to have a different, I didn't say better or worse, different smell. It's been a long talking point that white people smell different. And black people who live around other non-black people have said that those other non-black people have a different smell as well. Looking at the fact that black people have a certain type of melanin that other groups don't have, that not even the dark Indians have, that's not far-fetched for anybody to suspect that. What I'm saying is that no citizen of their own country should even be suspicious of such a thing. And if that is the case, people, that contributes to your stress. That contributes to the overall stress of your existence. Because the fact is, we don't know what's possible, do we? Now look at this. This has nothing to do with that recent case of mosquitoes being released in Baltimore. This is talking about modified mosquitoes arriving in Florida. This was uploaded 2 years ago.
The virus has taught us it's that messing with nature can prove to be fatal. Yet, in the quest for scientific advancement, humans continue to experiment with nature. Here's the latest one. In Florida, 12,000 genetically modified mosquitoes, the first such kind, will be released in open air for the next 12 weeks. By autumn.
This is not far-fetched for people to suspect. To suspect that somebody in a lab somewhere creating some artificial modified bugs. Now, why do I say, let me say this. Why do I say this? Why am I saying this? It is because I don't understand the behavior of these bugs that was out there in New York. Them wasn't no gnats. I am here in Ohio, we have a whole lot of gnats here. I'm dealing with gnats right now. They are very annoying. Okay? They're very annoying. But one thing they do not do, they do not land on you, stay stuck to you, and stay caked up on you in piles and piles. That does not happen. But that is how these bugs were behaving at this Baltimore festival. What was that all about? Now, maybe the gnats out there do behave like that. I don't know. I do know that in different parts of the country, you have different types of bugs. Here, I live near a lake, and we have what's called June bugs. And I am telling you, literally, there are millions of them in the summertime. Those of you who live around the Northwest Ohio, Toledo area, Detroit area, you know what I'm talking about. You'll walk up to a gas station, you'll walk up to a grocery store. The entire building will be covered with these bugs. So many of them, you can't even see hardly the building itself. It looks like something out of a dream. I've had nightmares where I was surrounded by bugs, so many I couldn't see the ground. This is literally what happens up here in Northwest Ohio. I understand that. But guess what? Those bugs tend to not cake all over you the way these bugs were here in New York. Look at this. Wait a minute. Gnats don't do that. What kind of bug is this? Now, there are several, they're Colorado bugs. Okay. Stink bugs. Okay. Moochie said stink bugs, Colorado bugs. Okay, my second question. Why did they just suddenly appear? Remember, there was people talking about that these bugs were released by a helicopter.
With bugs in his beard, others doing some serious swatting. Posters on Reddit asking what the...
This dude is swatting while he's riding a bike. Now, gnats in my part of the world, if you're moving, they don't touch you. They'll float right aside from you. Okay? So at least depending on what part of the country you live, you would be suspicious about something like this. Now, maybe what kind of bugs? Stink bugs? These are stink bugs. Why did they just suddenly appear? To the point where people suspected that they were released from a helicopter. The people were not swatting bugs before. And then suddenly they see a helicopter, and then suddenly they swatting. Everybody's swatting. Everybody got bugs crawling all over them. I don't trust that. And I don't point the finger. I don't blame or ridicule anybody who is suspicious.
It is expected to reach 20 million. 20 million genetically engineered mosquitoes. What will they do? Scientists say these artificial insects will help prevent dengue and Zika.
This is what I'm talking about. We're surrounded by arrogant people like this. People who are talking about and actually creating artificial modified bugs and releasing them. Get out of here. There ain't no reason to be doing nothing like that. I don't want to hear nothing about them trying to be sophisticated. Oh, we're trying to help the environment. Release the mosquitoes. We have to make these artificial mosquitoes, okay? And we have to release them. We have to release them in human territory. They're not releasing them in some isolated area of the country to see how the bugs interact with nature or whatever. No, they want to release them on people. Okay, so some people are suspicious about this. Whoa. Look, man, gnats don't behave like this. Look, out here in Ohio, I'm just telling you. Out here in Ohio, people just got to deal with gnats. In the summertime, you just got to deal with gnats. But they're not stuck to you. They're not crawling all through your flipping beard. People not tweaking out like they are here. When gnats are outside, for the most part, they mind their business. And a lot of times when they get in your house, they mind your business. But we don't know if a bug can be created that will be attracted to your melanin. It's probably possible to create a bug like that. Because as it is, fruit flies, or gnats, they're attracted to sweet fruit. When they do land and crawl all over something, they're crawling all over something that they want to consume. So if you leave a piece of fruit out, it will be covered in gnats. These bugs caked to people's bodies as if they were designed to sniff out these particular people. Some people are suspicious. And don't tell me it's unreasonable. Now, what is this?
But they are not like any genetically...
Wait.
These are genetically modified mosquitoes, but they are not like any genetically engineered organism ever created before. They are designed to spread their genetic mutation in the wild and hopefully someday eradicate the mosquitoes that transmit malaria, one of the deadliest diseases on the planet.
Now, many of these diseases that we've heard about have been man-made, basically. Right? Man-made. And we all know that there was something fishy going on with the syphilis experiment. This is not the first time. All throughout history, there's been suspicions among Black Americans that the government is waging some type of war on Black America. This is old. They even have a section talking about it in Wikipedia titled simply Black Genocide. Okay, this is irrefutable information. It's irrefutable facts. In the United States, Black genocide is a notion that mistreatment of Black Americans by both the government and white Americans it amounts to genocide. Decades of lynching, racial discrimination. In a petition submitted to the UN, 1960s, Malcolm X accused the government of engaging in genocide against Black people in the 1960s, citing long-term injustice, cruelty, and violence against Blacks by whites. Okay. There has been several articles. There are several articles available talking about this, where you go over the syphilis experiment. You go over the several of these crazy experiments where they used to carry out these procedures on Black people, no anesthetics and all this type of stuff, using Black people as guinea pigs. That's part of American history. That's a part of American history. And the history of a country is going to influence the present day people. That's just the way it is. Especially when you haven't demonstrated that today you are much different than you were back then. And look at the racial atmosphere today. You got governors down there in Florida, who's it, DeSantis, talking about he's going to mandate that everybody learns Asian American history and bans African American history, bans Black American history, wants to remove Black history, period. That is overt racism, is it not? So much so that even Black Republicans are pushing back. It's like, oh, see, right now, they're like, oh, this is overt racism. Oh, this is that Jim Crow-like racism. So how could it be unreasonable for some people to suspect that there are people in positions that are doing things like creating bugs that will be attracted to melanin? Because there is either a scent that melanin gives off, or there is a scent that melanin neutralizes or masks. because generally other people have a different smell. And also, for the people who think that's ridiculous, look at the genetics of blacks compared to other people. Other people, for the most part, have the same, genetically, they have the same grade of hair. They have the same hair DNA. No matter if it's dark Indians, dark Asians, they have the same hair DNA. Clearly, there's something different about our DNA. So why is it unreasonable for people to suspect that you can create bugs that will be attracted to our particular DNA? This is real talk, man. Okay? So the racial atmosphere today is crazier than it has ever been. As we all know and talk about, there are several groups around the world who have independently created words, derogatory words, referring to Black Americans. As we all know, many people in these other countries, before they come to America, they're given a lecture, not only by their parents. Some of them say that they tell you this at the UN office over there. That stay away from Black Americans, America, period. You better go straight to white America, find you some white friends. We've heard the foreigners literally saying this. What other group has that done to them? Sometimes you have to step back and look at the flow of history. You can't just be stuck and fixated on your era. You got to look at your era in comparison to how it used to be in order to project in the future. The type of propaganda that is heaped on Black Americans is exactly the type of propaganda that precedes genocide, that precedes the attempted extermination of those people, that precedes holocausts. The type of propaganda that is put on against Black people today is at the same level or supersedes that was waged against that other group who had an attempted or an actual attempt to eradicate their population. They had very similar propaganda. The idea is to shape the perception of the world, everybody in every country, to get everybody around the world to look at you in a particular way. What other group do they do that to more than Black Americans? Now, let me clarify again. I'm not talking about all immigrants. I'm not. But even immigrants will tell you that there are their good side, their good population, and they have their bad people, just like every other group. And America has had influence over the decades where they have been able to sort of indoctrinate everybody all around the world via projecting negative images of Black America, to the point where people come from various countries who have never met a Black American in their life. They come here, they step off the plane, and they have stereotypes that they've co-signed with that are flat out stereotypes. When you got a dynamic like that, boy, that is the groundwork for a group that will not be on this planet forever. I've read comments from people saying, oh, Black Americans will never go extinct. Well, stop with that silly talk. You know how many ethnic groups have gone extinct? That's part of world nature. No group just lasts forever. Where are the Egyptians right now? Now, people might carry the blood of the ancient Egyptians today, but as a people, as an ethnic group, they no longer exist. And they lasted for tens of thousands of years. So you're not promised to be here forever. So the question now is, what type of environment is created that precedes your extermination? If it's not the environment we're looking at right now, I don't know what is. Look at how many people celebrate the idea of removing black history completely. Now, the whole idea of critical race theory was a con from the get-go. That wasn't whipped up by black Americans. Just like Black Lives Matter, the organization, was not put together by black Americans. It was put together by white people. White people with a whole lot of money. Historically, white people with a whole lot of money have never invested in something that truly benefits black America. And it always turned out to be something that works against black America. When you look at Black Lives Matter, many of you know I was one of the first to blow the horn on Black Lives Matter. That video of mine's still up. I uploaded, I think, 6-7 years ago, exposing how on their website, all they talk about is promoting LGBT. And they're dead set against straight black males. They literally waged war on straight black males. Black Lives Matter did. And you found out they was put together they wasn't even put together by black people. And the people who ran it wasn't even black Americans. So you got people with billions of dollars investing in the stuff like this, stuff that work against our families. What type of craziness is that? You putting together organizations designed to destabilize black families in a time like now, after this has been attempted already and actually carried out during the feminist movement, right? Welfare policies, that was an attack on the black family. And then, so we had another wave of attacks on the black family with this Black Lives Matter organization that was not put together by black people and it was not run by black Americans. We did not come up with those ideas and concepts. Talking about the only black males that are allowed to be leaders in Black Lives Matter are black males who are trans or gay. That's exactly what they had on that website. Now, they have changed their website since I made that video. I made that video when they first had their first website. Go look at it. And since then, they changed it, but they still have that anti-straight black male rhetoric in that website. The Black Lives Matter as an organization was designed to destabilize black people. Who does that to any other ethnic group? Invests millions of dollars just to project a negative stereotypical image of these people. They're trying to defile black Americans' image. They're setting black people up to be exterminated. Listen, it does not matter if you believe this is actually happening or not. It's reasonable for people to suspect it. All the more reasons why black Americans should be awarded their own state along with reparations. Okay? If so many people have such a problem, and shout out to all the people who don't have a problem with black Americans, we rock with those people. Make no mistake about it. But hey, the fact is, the twisted among you are too dangerous. They're too dangerous. Too many of them are in positions where they can do things like create fake bugs that'll sniff out melanin. I'm playing with that. Now we need to draw the line in the sand and deal with the fact that no other single ethnic group is targeted. Now, if a group is targeted, but they have a lot of political power, that's different. Okay? If they have more military power, that's different. We don't. Now, here in America, the talk among white Americans is that they're going to go extinct. Let's say they do. And let's say they get replaced by Asians. Let me ask black Americans, do you think racism will be over? I can find several Asians right now on YouTube who will tell you, hell no. They're gonna tell you, you're probably gonna deal with even worse racism now, because the racist Asians, you can't manipulate their emotions by sending them on guilt trips. You can't talk about how evil they are because they enslaved you a long time ago. They got far less sympathy for black, and that goes for all other groups. So whoever replace white Americans, they're going to be more vicious to black America. You don't think many black Americans today are saying what I'm saying? That we need our own state. We should have gotten our own state, fought for it during the civil rights movement. As much criticism as people threw at the Nation of Islam, they had a point when they were fighting for their own state, when they were fighting for a black state. They examined the structure of the world properly, in my opinion, in that regard. Now, we, to this day, don't know. This is that article that they released shortly after saying deadly mosquitoes did not swarm Baltimore Music Festival. And they're saying, hey, no, these were not deadly mosquitoes. These were some other types of bugs. And I'm saying, who cares where they come from? When there's a bug familiar with a particular part of the area, like here where I am, June bugs, we all know about June bugs. We see them every single summer. People are not surprised by them when they're natural to that part of the world. You get a helicopter flying over there and suddenly you get some bugs flying around. You got all of these reports that are available of artificial bugs actually being created. This is not something that's like never happened, that has never been talked about. Okay, these videos that I shared are old. And these videos are everywhere. This was released 3 years ago. This is a whole different one. All right, wait a minute. What was this?
Scientists are experimenting with these mosquitoes in a lab that is designed to make sure none of the insects escape. The lab is in Italy because even if they do...
Man, please. What about HARP? They're messing with the weather, trying to manipulate the weather. They're trying to clone people. Look at everything they're experimenting with when it comes to science. You telling me it's unreasonable for black Americans to suspect something like this? And no citizen of their country should be in that position where they suspect their government of things like this. Now, this is not the only thing a lot of black Americans are suspicious about. Many things we've actually proven. Look at, and I'll never forgive the ruling class for this. Look at how they destroyed hip hop. Look at how they invested billions and billions of dollars into producing and promoting the most degenerate sector of black America. They don't do that with other groups. When you look at the opponents of reparations, you're going to notice that they say that black Americans don't deserve reparations because of black America's ratchet sector. And they promote the ratchet sector as the face of black America. No other group does this, yet all other groups have a ratchet sector. That is clear in your face propaganda. Clear in your face propaganda. And that has been what our government has done for a long time. The rulers of this class have been doing this ever since the TV has been on. They have made it a point to push negative, degenerate images of black people. Black people, black Americans have been at war against this ever since this have been happening. Before the 1950s, all those racist caricatures, there's always been a sector of black America speaking out against that. Nothing has changed. Right? Today it's just a little more modified. But they don't project the ratchet sector of their population as the face of the population. Because we all know full well, not all black Americans are ratchet. We exist throughout different classes, just like all other people have people who exist in different classes. But they don't promote our business sector as the face of black America like they do with their own people. And this is a universal tactic among people, no matter where they're coming from. No other group has that done to them. You understand? Black Americans need to spend, in my opinion, need to spend some time looking at how despised they are. Get an accurate and proper gauge on how despised as a group we are in comparison to how other groups are despised by other groups. And if it stands out like a sore thumb, if it's extremely disproportionate, that is a very concerning, troubling problem. Now look at this.
There are 10 things that black students don't need. Number one, we don't need affirmative action. Number two, we don't need equity. Number three, we don't need to be pandered to. Number four, we don't need you to dumb down test scores in order for us to thrive. Number five, we don't need a school system promoting victim mentality. Number six.
Wait a minute. What is the promotion of a victim mentality? When we suspect that stuff like this is possible? So when we acknowledge that there is a sector of people in society, some in very powerful positions, that actively work against black Americans, that's the promotion of victim. No, that's the recognition of reality. I'm not, and understand this guy talking is not even a black American. This guy was planted. With what other group do you have people, powerful people, putting government plans as spokespersons for their group? They don't do that with other people. They literally handpick non-black Americans to act as spokespersons for black America. Who else is as invested in controlling how our image is projected like that? You have to be concerned about how your image is projected across the world, especially when you have no power. Okay? If some other group take over it, we still powerless.
We don't need the soft bigotry of low expectations as we have heard from other people. We don't need, number seven, critical race theory or intersectionality.
Now, like I said, critical race theory never should have been titled as such, and critical race theory was not put together by black Americans. We did not come up with no critical race theory. No. Another creation of non-black Americans in high places. We've never put a name on black history. We did not all of a sudden just now start to acknowledge or discover black history. Black Americans have been getting into black history since the early 1900s, starting with, I would say, probably Noble Drew Ali. I mean, we all know about Marcus Garvey. There's always been a sector of black Americans who research not only black history, but the political structure and how many things, how many laws, policies, and whatnot has had a negative impact on black America. We've all been aware of that. It was not black Americans' idea to put a name on it, call it critical race theory, and talk about how it's all about telling white people how they're racist and oppressors. That was put together by white folk, powerful white folk. Black people ain't put that nonsense together. And it was put there to make a fool, a mockery out of black America, to put a name on the truth. That way you could get rid of the truth, which is exactly what they've started to try to do. Talking about now, they're just talking about getting rid of black American history altogether. Like what? DeSantis is against African American studies. That's been around forever. So now black history in general is the enemy and is being targeted. You don't want to be, a lot of black Americans don't want to live under a government like that. It's trying to wipe the teaching of their history out in the mainstream public school system. What the hell? Don't tell me I'm no conspiracy theorist or any other black person for being suspicious of that.
Number eight, we don't need reparations or any more welfare state.
any more welfare states. So you can tell this is a government plan because black Americans have moved far beyond the welfare stereotype. Again, that was a fake image projected to the world about black Americans. There are more white people on welfare. And the biggest welfare part of the country is a city. When I hear the whole city is on welfare and the whole city is white. That's another good point. Look at how many lies have been promoted. As I've talked about on this channel, look at our very population. And everybody knows the truth. Black Americans do not make up no 12% of this country. They're even scared to say what our true numbers are. I've talked about many times how the nutritional value system is rigged against black Americans. We need our own grocery stores, our own nutritional standards. And there have been white doctors who come out and said that. They're the one who made the information public. They did the research. They said black people require far less sodium than other groups of people. It's a fact. It's like 1,000 milligrams. Like we require only half of what all other groups require. So, in other words, if we all intake the same amount of sodium, black people have more high blood pressure, more heart attacks, shorter lifespan on average. And with high blood pressure, you get all other kinds of issues. Look at how they say, we don't know if it's true, but they say black women on average have more miscarriages and have more problems at birth than other groups of people. A lot of problems are connected with our diets. Okay, and the bottom line is we don't know exactly what's going on. There are some black people who suspect things are being put in the food. Is it possible to put things into food that targets melanin? Look, black people didn't create this world. But when you look at the history, when you look at the things that are going on today in comparison to history, you'd be a fool to assume that there are no more racists in the world. I don't want to hear nothing about that. And another thing is this stupid talking point that blacks who acknowledge or point out who talk about racism are complaining that they are not successful or something like that. Because the first thing people want to tell you is, oh, racism is not stopping you from being successful. As if being successful is what you're even talking about. And that's another stereotype about black Americans. Almost all black Americans who have ever talked about racism or the political structure or whatever, black history, stuff like that, they've all been hardworking people. They've never been complaining that racism is holding them back. That's a white created stereotype, people. This idea of the black American who complains about how racism holds them back. I ain't never, ever, ever. That was a goofy stereotype that emerged like in the early, 80s. Used to get them where they used to make mockery of black people who would learn black history. As soon as black Americans started to research their history, you had a sector of white America that invested in making mockery of it. Just like they promote the gangster rap. Now you run across a lot of white people who are dead set against gangster rap. They hate it. They think it should be banned. Well, don't point the finger at black people. We're not the one invested millions and billions into promoting it. We don't even have the billions to promote it. What these record companies have been doing over the years is offering millions and millions of dollars to broke artists and telling them the only way they're going to get this money is if they talk about the drugs, the gang banging, and so forth. Why are they promoting that in our culture? I will never forgive the ruling class for doing that, investing in the promotion of this garbage music. Because music has been the most influential part of anybody's culture. The things that people value the most, you're going to hear about it in their music, in their native music. Your lyrics are extremely important. You better be careful about what you fill in your ears with. And early black music had nothing to do with shooting somebody, selling dope, or even using profanity. That was pushed by the record companies. Record companies were not controlled by black people. So, yeah, you can point the finger at the black artists all you want, and so do I. I don't let the black artists themselves off the hook. Yeah, shame on the black artists too. But don't think I'm not going to also pay some attention to these huge multi-billion-dollar corporations that invested in destroying our image and misleading the youth. They putting these sick messages out here to tarnish the mentality of the youth. Everybody knows it. And the fact is, you don't invest in the destruction of no other group like that. So yeah, a bunch of us want our own state. Don't act surprised and don't act stupid. This ain't no surprise. And you know, everybody knows it's totally understandable for a sector of black America to demand the reparations that's owed to us and demand our own portion of this world, of this country. Yeah, call it Black America. Now I feel better. I've been wanting to get this video off my chest for a while. Boy, I get frustration pent up inside me and I just need to let loose. Getting tired of people. Why is Black America always trending? Why are people always talking about us, man? Every other day I see foundational Black Americans trending. Reparations are trending. Then I go to reparations and all I see is other people talking about our reparations and how we don't deserve it and shouldn't be rewarded. All these other people, foreign blacks, foreigners, period. All people all over the world talking about how we don't deserve reparations. And the fact is, Black Americans are not talking about how any other group should not get something that they're campaigning for. We not all up in y'all's Kool-Aid like that. Why you all up in ours? If we tell politicians that we're not going to vote for you unless you give us reparations, that ain't none of your business. And I'm talking to everybody who is non-Black American. Mind your political business. And everybody who speaks out against us having reparations is our enemies. And the only thing they're going to do is try to project the most ratchet sector of Black America as the face of Black America. And that'll tell you who the true racists are. Because all groups have their ratchet sector. And with many people, the ratchet sector is the dominant, right? They make up more than 50% of their population. Because I know that there are some people who are going to say that the ratchet sector is the dominant sector of Black America. Go ahead and go there if you want. Because the same can be said about many other ethnic groups. Yeah. So yeah, you know, I made the title to sort of trigger people, get people's attention. But I think that's real talk. That's real talk, man. We're not up in other people's business like that. If I see reparations trending, and it's always trending, every time I go there, it should only be Black Americans talking about it. We talking about our own political issues. But you got New York Post, you got all these media outlets talking about it, talking about, oh, how Black Americans don't deserve, Black Americans don't deserve. Okay, name one group where we're talking about that something they're campaigning for they don't deserve. Okay, we're not even saying that about the Indians who receive reparations. The other groups, Japanese and others who receive reparations. We're not going around saying that they shouldn't have received reparations. We're saying, hey, they received it. We should receive it. And don't try to downplay history. Don't try to downplay what Black Americans went through. This thing that DeSantis is going through is overt disrespect. overt racism. This dude trying to go around saying that we actually benefited from slavery because we learned skills. And the fact is, skilled people were enslaved. That's why they were enslaved. That's why you enslave people. And this is all throughout history of invading other groups. You don't kill off everybody. You keep the skilled people. You keep the doctors. You keep the scientists. And you force them to work for you. Skilled black people were enslaved. And they did not only take our skills. We knew skills all throughout slavery. Before slavery, we had skills. We got the monuments over here to prove we had skills. I don't want to hear it. Black Americans are the true Americans of this country. Let's talk about that. I don't want to hear nothing from nobody. You can believe what you want. I believe what I want. I'm talking about what I believe. Go and talk about what you believe somewhere else. Goofballs. We the real Americans. America is no different from any other continent or body of land on this planet. And black people are on all bodies of land on this planet, including America. Where did those people go? Those people were enslaved. Primarily occupied the southern United States because it had better weather. That's why slavery was primarily concentrated where? In the South. Why? Europeans had no problem with going north, but we did. We wasn't trying to live up here in no cold, dealing with no winter. So we was concentrated in the South. You think it's a coincidence that that's where slavery was originally concentrated? Yeah, they had some a little port up there. Was it in Virginia or whatnot? Was it Virginia? Yeah, that insignificant. You saw where the population of enslaved people were. And they enslaved skilled people. Now, throughout slavery, why do you think they made it illegal for black people to get patents? It's because they knew black people would be inventing things. Every job I've had, our company bugged us nonstop about coming up with improvement ideas. They really get on my nerves with that. Every week, get an improvement idea, get an improvement idea, get an improvement idea. You think they weren't doing that during slavery? Of course they were. Telling their slaves to come up with improvement ideas and offering them rewards for it, and then not allowing them to get a patent. And the very fact that it was illegal for black people to have a patent for that for so long is more reason and justification for reparations. Because just like white Americans and white America was able to amass wealth over the duration of slavery, we could have been as well. And we would have the same types of empires and corporations as that they had. They try to downplay cotton, but the system was not primarily or exclusively based on cotton, but cotton fueled the other industries. All right? Insurance companies are huge. Are they not? The pharmaceutical industry is huge. Is it not? And it was created mainly because of black people, experimenting on black people, while we ourselves not allowed to have patents, not allowed to amass wealth. And you're telling me this was every black American family, and the ones who were not enslaved were forced to live in swamps and isolated civilizations? It's disrespectful to even talk about whether or not black Americans are owed reparations at this point. Anybody who's willing to just dispute it, refute it, or talk about, oh, let's talk about whether or not, get out of here. That's your enemy. Any and everybody who talks like that, that's your enemy. Slavery here in America was the most gruesome, dark period of human history, period. And everybody knows that. And for anybody to try to downplay it, that's your enemy. Now look at how many people try to downplay it. They're up here trying to make it statewide. You want to teach that blacks benefited from slavery. Even though immediately after slavery ended, now get this. They talk about we had benefits, that we learned skills, but yet when slavery ended, they created black codes and Jim Crow laws to prevent them from using those skills. So now what? No, you think we're not going to talk about that? Those unions that were created, they were created to keep black people away from those jobs. Because in the South, there were more skilled black people than there were skilled white people. So they say, oh, black codes, let's create the unions to thwart their ability to capitalize on those skills. We're not supposed to talk about that? Now what do you have to hang your hat on? You still want to talk about that we benefited from slavery? To even have that discussion is disrespectful. And I'm not going to insult my history by even entertaining that discussion. Get out my face. We are owed reparations. I don't want to hear nothing from nobody. Anybody who disagrees with that from this seat is my enemy. And you should not be worried about what we get. And it's not going to come out of your stupid broke pocket anyway. Right now, we've all paid for reparations. Our taxes go for all kind of crazy stuff we don't sanction. I don't want to hear nothing. You ain't going to miss it. And just like you ain't missing nothing else, very little of the tax dollars you pay out goes towards something that benefits you. People just hate to see black Americans get anything. And it's a weird dynamic. You don't have that with any other group. Is that true or not? Where there are so many other groups who are against you receiving some type of benefit. Why does it bother so many people so much? Why are you even talking about it? We're not up in other people's Kool-Aid like that. Why are you up in ours? Why do so many people who are not even black Americans worry so much and talk so much about us? Mind your own business. That's what I want more than anything. Lord, mind your business. We don't think you're interesting enough to sit up and be talking about you and with your political aspiration. Again, we don't even know what the hell these other groups want politically. What is you talking about us for? God. And black Americans, this is another reason why you need your own state. Black Americans have Black Americans have, in my opinion, the most identifiable culture. And I'm not talking about this manufactured ratchet culture. And they need to preserve it. All the more reason to have your own part of the world. Because right now, black America is being attacked. Again, you got these people investing money into saying that black Americans did not create hip hop or was 50-50 with other groups. And you already know where that's going. They're eventually going to say we didn't create it at all, or that it wouldn't have been created without the influence of others. Why, again, are people always trying to do stuff like that with blacks? Undermine some achievement that we had. That is madness. Utter madness. And the music thing, that's a whole different subject. I'm going to deal with that again some other time. Because, like I said, these people, they want to claim hip-hop. They're so dumb, they think they can just try to claim hip-hop. No, you want to claim the creation of hip-hop, you got to also claim to invent it, a whole other bunch of other genres that we know you didn't invent and that you wasn't into. And again, you don't want to go back and listen to the music that you was listening to back then. All right, leave us alone. Stop talking about us. Stop worrying about what we campaigning for. We're not voting for you. Unless you're one of the politicians we're voting for, you ain't got no reason to be talking about us. Shut your mouth. We ain't talking about you. And that go for everybody who's talking crazy about us. Shout out to everybody who support us, right? We've contributed a lot to this world, to world history. People around the world enjoy stuff we've created. And it's the craziest thing in the world, right? Shout out to all of you, everybody that's against us, middle finger to you. I don't care. That is all for this live stream.